Happy Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. To start your work week, we've got bad news and some more bad news when it comes to this. So not a lot of positive situations happening right now. The Royals stink. They didn't win a game against the New York Yankees. That's a bummer. But is that really bad news, or is that just news?
That's just business as usual.
That's just news.
If any of you thought the Royals were going to win more than one game against the Yankees, I have some beachfront property in Hayes I'd like to sell you.
Good old Hayes, America. Bad news. Chris Jones, not in camp. Not in camp.
As of 12:07 p.m. on today, this Monday, he is not in camp.
Bad news. Kadarius Toney, injured. But is that bad news? Because that is also...
That's just news. That's kind of what you expected.
It's
bummer news, but not like unexpected bummer news.
Is it like the Royals news?
Kinda, but more upsetting because you had more hope.
Understandable. I like that. I'm with you.
You know, they're similar in context, but you're more bummed out about Kadarius because you had more hope.
Yeah, they both are what we expected.
But we just had more of a belief that, KT might have been different.
Because we definitely know through the first, 100 games of the year, the Royals are the Royals.
They're dog doo-doo.
And the hopeful surge from Kadarius Toney would be different. So we got a lot to get to. Lots to talk about today here on Mic'd Up. As always, let us know your thoughts. Hit us up on our text line, 785-272-9429. Very easy to get to. A little rainy earlier today up in St. Joe if you went up and watched the Chiefs practice, but then they did move back outside, which was good news for the people who wanted to show up. You can hit us up on our YouTube channel. So easy to do. Go to youtube.com, search Sports on 580, click on it, hit the subscribe button. Easy to get to. Let us know your thoughts on our YouTube channel and our live stream every single day. For 580 Sports Talk and Mic'd Up, you can interact with us. So check us out on YouTube. You can also go to our website, 580www.com. So we're going to hear from Steve Spagnuolo. We'll hear from Travis Kelce. We're going to hear from Trent McDuffie. And Adam Teicher of ESPN will join us coming up in the 2 o'clock hour. So plenty to get to on this Monday. Done enough Royals talk? They stink.
There's just nothing to take from
Not good.
If there's things to take even from losses, it's important to talk about. There's nothing to take from the Yankees series.
Singer pitched well again.
Singer pitched well. Maybe Brady is fixed.
Okay.
I don't know.
Right.
I don't get that yet. But Brady was fine. Alec Marsh pitched fairly well, but
gave up the homer.
Had the issues you thought he would have had in the Cracker Jack box stadium that is Yankee Stadium.
Yep.
And then we're not recapping Jordan Lyles starts.
Okay.
We're not doing that anymore. That's a waste of time.
Okay. Michael Massey turned into Barry Bonds.
Michael Massey taking advantage of the small ballpark was nice.
Cool.
MJ Melendez is starting to hit really well. He has a hit nearly every game since the break.
There we go. All
so.
Right.
And there are some nice things in the context of this team being unbelievably bad.
And this has concluded our Royals talk for today.
Maybe they'll do something nice against Cleveland tonight. Oh, by the way, they've started a series against Cleveland tonight for the next 3-4 days.
3 days.
3 days. Tonight, tomorrow, Wednesday.
Yes.
Yeah, 3 days. Then they're
off.
Or off Thursday and welcome Minnesota to town on Friday, I believe.
There we go. All right.
So
thank you, Royals.
Royals Guardians was 6:10 first pitch tonight?
Yes. 8 minutes or 2.5 minutes of
5:30 pregame. Listen to that. There you go.
All righty.
Unless they do something important, we're done with them.
All righty. Let's get to the most important aspect of it. Chris Jones is no-show Jones. All right. Is that what we're going to call him from now on? No-show Jones?
No Jones.
George Jones, no-show Jones? According to Adam Schefter, Chiefs All-Pro defensive tackle, did not report to camp with the rest of his team. The two sides remain, and I quote from Adam Schefter, far apart, end quote, on a new deal for the Defensive Player of the Year finalist. Now, when you've got that coming from Adam Schefter that includes Defensive Player of the Year finalist and All-Pro, seeking a new deal, that's all catered towards the player.
That's all agent speak right there.
That is the Katz brothers to a T.
Mm-hmm.
Little bit more info on this. This is holdout day number 2, which means total fines, $100,000. Now, this is not workshoppable. The Chiefs just can't be like, yeah, you're good, fam. No, he is fine.
Yeah, the 2020 CBA introduced a new clause to where once a deal is done and once Chris reports, he has to pay these fines.
Yes.
The Chiefs can't, like, he is now $100,000 in the hole.
Like Dan said, the Chiefs can waive that, being in good faith.
And they used to be able to. Until 2020, they could.
Anymore. That's what I thought. So
that's why most players hold in now instead of hold out.
Yes.
And they just, fake an injury and just don't do it.
Yep. Well, Andy Reid met with the media yesterday, and he was a bit surprised that Chris Jones was not there. But as Andy Reid always does, we're not worrying about it. The people who are here is who are here, and we're going to practice with the people in attendance. So that is something to note there. According to some other reports, Chris Jones wants $30 million. That is right, $30 million. That is the number that is being reported. All right. We know this because $31 million is what Aaron Donald makes per year, the average annual value. The rest of the defensive tackles, the most is $24 million. The big question here is whether or not Chris Jones is heels dug in at $30 million, or is he willing to move? That is the report. Nate Taylor of The Athletic, friend of the show, says Jones wants $30 million per year. I can tell you this. The whole Jeffrey Simmons, Quinnen Williams, Hargrave, all of those players, that didn't mean squat. Remember we were told, they got to find out what Quinnen Williams is going to get. No, that didn't factor at all. Quinnen Williams, Hargrave, Simmons, all of these dudes, Dexter Jackson, all of them weren't even going to remotely approach $30 million. Therefore, this had nothing to do with those defensive tackles. Nothing. If the number is $30 million, this is simply Chris Jones wants to make $1 less than Aaron Donald. That is it. All right?
Yeah.
And if we found out as well, judging from your past research, he doesn't want to just be the second highest paid defensive tackle. He wants to be the second highest paid defensive player, because the second highest defensive player is an edge, and that is TJ Watt. He's making average annual value $28 million. So this is, I think I am the second best player in the NFL on defense. I want to get paid just under Aaron Donald. We've often asked, who is the one that's being a little bit ridiculous, right?
Yeah, usually that seems to be our question is who might be making the more unreasonable demand.
So we were wondering, okay, are the Chiefs offering 24, right? Above what Simmons is making and Quinnen Williams is making, right? Or is it Chris Jones asking for 30? Well, if the report is that Chris Jones wants $30 million, to me, Chris Jones is being the one who's being a little bit ridiculous. Now, there are two ways to look at this, as always. A fan of the team and a fan of the player. I hope Chris Jones gets $30 million as an individual. Go get the money, young man. Mm-hmm. Do what you need to do. As a fan of the Chiefs, I think Chris Jones is being a little bit ridiculous. Do I think Chris Jones is the second best player in the NFL on defense behind Aaron Donald at the age of 29? No, I don't. No, I don't. Do I think he's a top 5 or 6 defensive player? Yes, I do. Which is why, to me, the number always should have been around $27 to $28 million. I'd have no problem with that one bit. You need somebody who's a game wrecker on defense. He is that guy. Now, Chris Jones is going to report to camp at some point in time. He will. Because if he misses camp, and that's 20 days of camp, I don't know about you, Fulton, but 20 days of camp at $50,000 pop.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't show up, he doesn't accrue a year.
Correct. Chris Jones has to play football this year, or that 28 he's going to make this year tolls, and he's just under contract next year.
Yeah.
Chris Jones will be playing football for the Chiefs this year.
Yes.
That part isn't changing.
No. You're 100% correct.
What matters is what is he doing beyond this year? Mm-hmm. And I am fascinated by what is trying to happen here. Because as of now, if Chris got paid $30 million a year, he'd be the second highest paid defensive player in the league for his position. Because your current second highest paid, TJ Watt, at $28 million a year in average per year, like we talked about last week. Here, this is really weird because I think he at $30 million a year, he would be the second highest paid defensive player a year for at most 1 year. Because Nick Bosa is going to break that.
Correct.
Because Nick Bosa hasn't gotten paid yet.
Correct.
Nick Bosa is still in line to get paid. Nick Bosa is going to be the first edge player to break $30 million. Because he's going to get more than TJ Watt. Because Nick Bosa, I think you can say, is the best edge player in the NFL.
Well, he was defensive player of the year last
year. He was, for a reason.
That
dude wrecks everything as he plays the Chiefs and they scheme around him, which is funny. But still, this entire situation is just, it's weirdly complex. And digging into the closest question, we have a text on the 785. As always, join our text line, 785-272-9429, that asks, is this the fault of Chris or his agent? The money asked is always players. Agents want their players to want more, and the agents are always going to kind of be the devil on the shoulder, whispering in the ear to be like, don't take a pay cut, ask what you want, because they, get their commission cuts. Never, ever, ever believe somebody if they try to tell you that the average player they're asking for is agent only. It's always player-led. Because if a player bends so much their agent's will that it changes their entire career trajectory, there's something wrong with that player. Like,
the player tells this to his agents. I want this number, and I'm willing to do this to get it.
Yeah.
And if the Chiefs don't do it, then I'm willing to go to this number.
Yeah.
They give them what they're feeling. And maybe sometimes that the player will just be like, look, I want this. Do whatever you can to get this. I'm willing to eat, he's willing, he's at $100,000 worth of fines right now. $100,000 is not a big deal if you're going to talk about $70 million guaranteed.
And more importantly, he's paying $28 million this year.
So that's the whole point there. To me, I think $30 million for Chris Jones at age 29. He's never been defensive player of the year.
Nope.
He's been an all-pro one time.
First team all-pro one time.
First team all-pro one time. Aaron Donald was 3-time defensive player of the year, maybe even more. I don't even know.
You go through that. I'm going to figure out exactly what he was. Okay, so he got it in 2022. Give me 1 second.
Who?
Aaron Donald when he signed his new deal.
Yeah, he was 30 years old when he got that deal, but Chris Jones doesn't have the same resume as Aaron Donald. By the time
Aaron Donald signed that deal, just to go through Aaron Donald's credentials, he had been, by that point, a 3-time defensive player of the year. He had been defensive rookie of the year. He has been a Pro Bowler every single year. So we're up to, was that 9 Pro Bowls? However many years he's played. I'm bad at math. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-time first team all-pro. So,
there's no way that you can justify
it's not comparable.
That. No, it's not.
It's not. And that's not to say, Chris is in his rights to ask for $30 million a year. Ask for it. Do it. Whatever. I'm never going to shame a guy for asking what he's going to ask for. I just don't think that is the reasonable number to end at. Now, that being said, if Chris is cool with 28, he should start by asking for 30. That's
exactly.
That's negotiations 101. So it comes down to what is Chris willing to go down from that number? I had a feeling, like my assumed thought when the far apart came out and everything else. I'm like, it means they're starting at 30 and they're trying to, and Chris and his camp is going to work on that 30 until that 30 just won't work. Like, they're going to do everything they can to see if they can get the Chiefs to commit to that number. And if they just go to the line in the sand of, hey, we can't do it, then I think Chris will go, all right, what can we do to mix and match some other things and things like that?
And the one interesting aspect of this is what Chris Jones has said. He's been so pro Kansas City and pro the Chiefs. Loves his guys, loves where he's at. And Joel Corey, friend of the show, had Joel Corey, the former agent, now works for CBS Sports, put together a big, long piece on this whole situation. And he pointed out that Chris Jones tweeted out, and it's still up there, you can go find this, to a response that said, I'm a Chief for life. I will not play for another franchise. It is never smart to say definitive stuff like this in negotiations, because the Chiefs look at this and say, well, he says he's not going to play for another franchise publicly. That's public stuff.
Yeah.
Not only does that look bad if you... This is where a player can look bad to the public, and I understand if they look bad to the public. Most of the time, I'm always for the player, get as much as you want, unless you put out certain information and variables that make me change it. If you are Chris Jones and you say, I'm a Chief for life, I will not play for another franchise, and then you go back on it, then I've got a problem with that. Okay? That's the one issue I have right now with Chris Jones, is that, all right, you say you're not going to play for another franchise. And I do think this is going to get done. It's just going to get very, very messy. And I hope not a whole lot gets burned when it comes to this. The Chiefs need Chris Jones going forward. They do. But $30 million a year for Chris Jones, that is a line that the Chiefs will not go. They will not. They will not. I think they're willing to go 27 a year. I think they're willing to maybe even go to 28. I think they are. And I've got no problem with that. The reason you traded Tyreek Hill is so you could pay other people. He's the other people. This is the other person. You can pay up to 4 people if you got a franchise quarterback. Mahomes, he's taking less money. Therefore, that less money can help you, Chris Jones. And this is not saying Chris Jones needs to take less money. This is Patrick Mahomes is about $7 million less than market value. Take that $7 million. There's that is what Patrick Mahomes did to keep a Chris Jones. Very simple. I think 28 is very reasonable for Chris Jones when it comes to all of this. So I do think that it'll end up being that number, because I think Chris Jones knows, hey, I'm in a good spot, good situation. The Chiefs need him. I think it will get resolved. It's just going to get a little messy on how they got there. I think that's what's going to end up happening.
That's how contract negotiations go this day and age.
Yes. Coming up, we'll take a look at weekends, takeaways, and fails. We're going to hear from Travis Kelce coming up at the bottom of the hour. All right, what do we got for our weekend's takeaways and fails, Fulton?
This is going to be the only other time I'm going to talk baseball today. MLB's replay rules are stupid, awful, and moronic, and I hate them. The Royals did not lose on Friday because of replay. They lost because they're a bad baseball team. But it is absolutely stupid that MLB says you have one challenge. If you get your challenge right, you keep it. If you get it wrong, you lose it. Boo-hoo, you lost it. Sucks to be you. You can't challenge anything. It is dumb as hell that you actually have unlimited challenges if you are just very polite to the umpires and ask them nicely to look at something. The Yankees lost their challenge in the ninth because Aaron Boone's first challenge was wrong. Yes. Did they get the call wrong saying Drew Waters was safe at third that would have ended the game and did end up ending the game? Yes. Aaron Boone should not have been allowed to challenge that play because he just went to the umpire and said, hey, I know I screwed up earlier, but can I please have a mulligan? That's an incredibly stupid rule. That is the dumbest thing.
No, it's not a rule. It's a guideline.
It's a dumbest thing.
It's a guideline.
Dumbest thing.
I'm gonna go with Team USA won 3-0 over Vietnam in the Women's World Cup on Friday night, and people are upset about it because they should have beaten them worse.
Yeah, it's a C+ game.
They had a lot of shots on goal. You couldn't finish. It probably could have been about a 5-0 lead, a 5-0 win. But they won, and that's the most important part. Their biggest game's coming up.
Got the Netherlands.
Got the Dutch. What's that?
There are two things I can't stand in this world. Those that are intolerant of other people's cultures and the Dutch.
The Dutch! Now,
I got you.
The men's team lost to the Dutch.
Yes.
In the knockout round.
Mm-hmm.
This is where our women are like, I got you. You need to go put their little clogs in the trash. Is what needs to happen. When is that? When is that match?
It's an 8:00 kickoff. I want to say tomorrow.
On Tuesday.
Give me one quick second.
I think it's Tuesday.
It's on Wednesday.
Wednesday.
There
we go. Coming up next, we're going to hear from Travis Kelce as he spoke to the media earlier today. We're back in on Mic'd Up. Jake Levon, Fulton Caster with you for this Monday. C. Spagnuolo met with the media earlier today, so we will get to what Spags had to say coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. We will also get to Adam Teicher. He's up at Chiefs training camp. We'll talk with Adam Teicher of ESPN.com coming up at 2:30. We will get to that as well. But a few players spoke to the media. Players pretty much speak to the media throughout this entire Chiefs training camp. Today, you had Travis Kelce, you had Sky Moore, and you had Trent McDuffie. We will hear from all three of those today. So lots to get to. But Travis Kelce met with the media. It's always fun to talk with Travis Kelce. Talks a lot about training camp, a little bit more about Kadarius Toney, which will go a little bit more in depth coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. But Travis Kelce spoke today, and here is what he had to say.
Travis, Andy in the past has said that the quarterback is an extension of the head coach on the field. How do you see that in Patrick as far as, how does he kind of represent the head ball coach on the field?
I feel like it's like the intricacies of the offense, the little things. He knows how to teach this thing just as well as Coach Reed does. He knows every single bit of what the O-line's mentality, their footwork, the wide receivers, their angles, their, how they're tracking the ball, the little things that Coach Reed really understands has kind of been ingrained in Pat's head. And I think that's all the quarterbacks at that, and they all kind of just, as a collective group, all thinking the exact same, and that's what makes this thing run like an engine, man.
The same way on game day, or are there other things you see on game day that?
Well, obviously, Pat has the instinctual ability to do things that I've never seen anybody else do on the football field. So that's where he separates himself, and he kind of shows his own personality in that regard. But in terms of situational football, understanding of the rules of the game, time management, all those things that Coach Reed is, the guru of, Pat is as well. And that's just, being in the same, meetings, understanding how Coach Reed, does things, and, in training camp, just having countless amount of time to be able to just go over all those things.
Coach, we had such an unusual offseason with all the different things you got to do. Is it some comfort coming back to the grind of camp?
I love coming here, man. I love coming here. It gets me ready for the season. I'm a big fan of training camp. I'm a big fan of preseason, being able to, lock in on the fundamentals and getting your mind straight, going through those ups and downs. We got a new playbook compared to last year. It has to keep changing. It has to keep evolving. So getting excited about those opportunities and really giving those new plays an opportunity to develop. That's what I get excited about. And I get excited about being around the guys and building this new team together, man.
Charles, do you feel like camp's important to you at this stage?
Every year, 100%. Even more so when I was younger, man. The reps you get in camp are so priceless, man. Whether it's the threes, the twos, the walkthroughs and the indoor, everything you can do to gain a mental advantage on every single play and get you more comfortable out there on the field to be able to run fast and play fast and be accountable for the guy next to you. All that stuff is just it's such needed, and that's why I love coming out here, man.
So much is made between the chemistry between you and Pat. How much freedom are you given at this part of your career where maybe on a given play you break off the route and find the soft spot, that type of thing?
I'm trying my hardest to just run this thing like Coach Reed dials it up, man. And that's where, you want to get creative, but at the right time, at the right moment, that creativity will kind of play itself out. Coach Reed does a great job of, putting a lot of work into making these plays make sense for the quarterbacks. So you don't want to get off script too much. And as much as everybody thinks I'm getting off script all the time and just getting wide open, for the majority of the part, I'm just running what's called, and Coach Reed's getting me open in terms of play call and dialing that thing up against the right defense. So, yeah, all that creative stuff is fun, but for the most part, I would say about 99% of the time, I'm doing what Coach Reed wants me to do.
Travis, I know you said you love camp, but was there a moment with so many of the new guys last year during training camp where you sort of could identify that, okay, we're going to be good, this team is going to be?
Man, I'm excited. I'm excited about every young guy that we got here, and there's no, let's wait until this guy develops. These guys are ready right now, and you see him flying out there. Rasheed had a bunch of great plays today. Noah Gray had a great day today. Sky Moore had about 3 or 4 touchdowns and some great plays. So in terms of the young talent we have here, it's just guys are ready to play because they're putting their nose to the grind and just getting after it, man. They're just getting after it.
Yeah, I guess, can you tell, is it midway through camp where you can sort of identify this team is moving in the right direction? Because obviously it's been you and Coach here every year since. So is there a moment where you can sort of see the change go in the team's favor?
I saw it in training camp, the way everybody attacked the days. We were attacking training camp or we were attacking OTAs like it was training camp. And that mentality, that excitement to get better, that focus to get better, that want to get better, that energy of everybody kind of bouncing ideas off of each other, getting on the same page. That's all you want training camp to be. You want it to be a collective agreement that, we're going to do whatever we can to get this thing right. And the young guys, I want to say they follow lead, but they figured that out real quick. And it makes the game exciting because you know that when you go out there and you're on the same page as the guy next to you, it just makes everything that much more flawless, and everybody gets to touch the rock in this offense. I mean, it's always been family first, man. I think the beauty of last year was being able to put my family in everyone's living room and showcase my upbringing, showcase how wonderful my mother and my father were, and how much of a mentor my older brother was for me. And that was awesome. Not everybody gets to have the pride to be able to showcase their family like that. And I'm just appreciative of the opportunities that I get, and it'll always be family first in my mind, though, man.
Last three, Bahe, Adams, Steve.
Travis, you're obviously still young and in great shape, but I do wonder if you have to make any concessions or do anything different 10, 11 years in than you might have before.
No, just go. We got a lot of great tight ends, so the reps are going to be passed around a little bit more this year, I would assume, and that's a good thing, man. We got Noah Gray, Jody Fortson, Blake Bell, even KB and our guy, and oh my gosh, why am I blanking on Bushy, man? Our snowman, the most pale guy out here. No, it's oh my God, listen, the tight end room is so stacked right now. Getting everybody reps to be able to showcase their talents is kind of where we're at. A lot of the coaches know what I can do and kind of know my skill set, but I still want to get as many reps as I possibly can. So there's no pulling back at all.
And overall, you don't feel any sense of father time at all? I mean, do you feel as energetic as ever?
You know what? No, nothing more than last year. Last year I started feeling a little bit in the second and third days, but you just got to harp on recovery and just make sure you're doing the right things in terms of muscle activation and things like that. Everybody's body's different, everybody says when they get older, they wish they were doing this when they were younger, but you just figure it out as you go and you start to keep things rolling and try and be at your peak athleticism all times. I mean, just electric, man. He's just a high energy guy. When he gets the ball, he's flying around. He's a hard worker. We're going to miss KT's just, his ability to make a play out of nowhere and just, kind of gain that momentum. He was that piece for us in the Super Bowl. He was that piece for us throughout the season last year. And, just getting that thing right. We got all the confidence in the world in our training staff here to get him ready either by season or early on in the season. Got our fingers crossed that we get him back as soon as possible. And it's just, letting him heal up and we'll take care of the load until he gets back. But KT ain't going anywhere, man. We missed that guy already.
Trav, you've been to a bunch of these camps, man. 3 of them led to Super Bowls. Could you tell the difference from the years that you didn't go to years that you did go?
Not really. You got to keep this thing building throughout the year. As a guy that's been here nonstop, every single training camp you come in and guns are blazing, everybody's flying around making plays. But I feel like this year the energy's really, really high. A lot of communication, a lot of guys are bouncing things off each other. Even in the meeting rooms, nobody's kind of just sitting back, just kind of waiting to be told what to do. Everyone's on the edge of their seat, wanting to learn, wanting to get better. And that's because we know what we can do. We know we can go and get this thing. There's a lot of confidence and there's a lot of, moxie that comes with it. And it starts in the QB room, I'm not going to lie. And a guy like Blaine Gabbert, Shane Bush, I mean, everybody's been in this thing really just attacking the day and having fun with it, man. And that's all you can ask for, because training camp, as you guys know, can be a little bit of a grind. And it is what it is, man. If you bring that energy every single day, you're going to find ways to get better.
Thanks, guys.
All right now.
So that is what Travis Kelce had to say to the media today. And I think there's something to Travis Kelce's longevity, to the fact that he enjoys and loves and takes camp very, very seriously. He loves camp. There are 2 people in this world, people who like camp and people who don't like camp. And he is one of those guys who will do anything and everything during camp. You talk about how he says, I have to do things a little differently because of my age, which is certainly fine and appropriate. That is okay. And trying to keep his body a little bit healthier. But I think that there is something to that he's been so good because of camp. And I think we'll never truly know until a variable changes. But I think the hard camp that they go through benefits the Chiefs instead of the players camp that other teams go through. That's all we hear is you ain't ready for this camp. This camp is so much harder. This camp is so much more difficult. Even the people who have played on other teams going into their camp. We'll never know because the Chiefs have more talent than anybody and they've got the best coach. So maybe they don't need to have a super hard camp because they've got the talent everywhere. You know what I mean? But I believe something to that. You know, same thing. Is it Belichick or is it Brady, right?
I think we're starting to get an answer.
It might have been a little bit more, maybe not, like 70-30, but maybe a little 60-40 Brady over Belichick when it comes to that. Sure helps. And Belichick is able to do stuff on defense because they had Brady. Same thing here. We won't know just how important is this difficult and hard training camp. The other aspect of it was what Travis Kelce said about Kadarius Toney and his health. Not looking great when it comes to that. We're going to talk more about Kadarius Toney and his health and the number 2 wide receiver in the 1:00 hour, because there've been some reports that, hey, the wide receivers are doing pretty good, especially one wide receiver. Very, very specific one wide receiver that we are going to get to. So Travis Kelce, just a ton of knowledge. Someone had him ranked the 3rd best route runner in all of the NFL when it comes to wide receivers, I guess, / tight ends. He was the 3rd best route runner, which doesn't surprise me. He just knows the game so well. And, he's trying to give a little bit more love to Andy Reid and to the system, saying, I don't just freelance the entire time. It just happens every now and then. But always good stuff when you hear from Travis Kelce when it comes to the press conference. We're going to hear from Trent McDuffie and Steve Spagnuolo coming up in the 2:00 hour. A little bit more defensive centered coming up in the 1:00 hour. So a lot to get to. Coming up next, though, was something that it was incredible and just goes to show you that there are different people out there that it's almost, like, I don't want to say destiny, but it kind of gets that feeling. The best thing that happened this weekend was something that the entire world was talking about, and it happened in Miami. We're going to get to that coming up next. There was some very climactic other sports happening around the world, and there were some kind of dud. The British Open snooze fest. Brian Harmon and his Waggles crushed everyone at Royal Liverpool. Shocker, if you putt it excellent and you don't hit it in a bunker, you'll win the Open. That's what occurred. Pretty boring.
Big shot.
Won by 6 shots. I mean, it was anticlimactic. It got to a 3-shot deficit was the closest anybody got. And then Harmon birdied the 2 easiest holes and back-to-back, and then got back up to 5, and it was kind of a boring snooze fest. No one cares. And will Brian Harmon ever win another tournament again? Probably not, but that's what the Open does. It gets you kind of wild, crazy winners. It really, really does. It's the one that I think that you're going to have the most like who's who winning that major, probably. And then there's what happened in Miami. The best soccer player ever is now playing in the United States. And his very first game for Inter Miami, he got subbed in at the 70th minute just to get him some action because he's only been with the team for a week. And it's tied up 2-2 with maybe 30 seconds to go in the match. It's in stoppage time.
Mm-hmm.
There was 5 minutes of stoppage time.
And we're in the 95th minute.
And Inter Miami draws a penalty from about 30 yards out. And Messi steps up to take it. And I was watching this live. Okay, I did. I actually tuned in because I was home. My family wasn't around. They were all gone. So it was just me. And I was like, oh, let's see this. So I logged in, watched it, and was thinking to myself, what if this goes in? And he takes the penalty kick. He's left-footed. And he hits one of the best striking free kicks I've ever seen. It had to have been at least 7 to 8 yards. For a good portion of it, it was outside of the goal box. Like it wasn't even remotely close to the goal, but it kept bending, and he makes it. He made it. He'd been a part of the MLS for 20 damn minutes, and he already has one of the most memorable free kicks in the history of the MLS. And Inter Miami ends up winning. There are just certain times in which the truly unique and gifted and rare individuals just find a way to do it at the most climactic times. And that was it. Like, you couldn't script a better way than Messi doing what he does. I bet you the second thing, when I think of Messi, I think of just the control that he has
Mhm.
He has got so much more control over the soccer ball than anyone. If you dribble it from one end to the other, most people will just kick it super far in front of him, go chase it down, kick it, go chase it down. No, he will literally run as fast as he can by just kicking the ball like 3 feet at a time. It's incredible. And then the second thing you think of is his free kicks, because the dude is a wizard. And that was remarkable. That was incredible. And that's why everyone is going to go want to see this dude.
Oh yeah, no, that's why the prices are so high and the ticket
It was-
prices, and everyone wants to come in and all
That
the
was the-
sales to see, watch on TV.
My entire social media feed Friday night was Messi.
Mhm.
It wasn't the women's national team. Everybody was replaying the Messi free kick. It was
was insane.
incredible. It was. I think that's. I mean, he would be like if Jordan went over and played basketball in China. That's like what would have happened. It was incredible. Coming up though, how big of a deal is Toney being hurt? How long could he be done? We'll get to that next. Myself, Jake and Fulton with you on this Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. Let us know how you feel about the Chris Jones lack of a contract. And Kadarius Toney's health, not a good situation. We're going to hear from Steve Spagnuolo and Fulton's favorite chief, Trent McDuffie. Fulton,
Get in on the ground floor, folks.
Fulton did get on the ground floor.
That's it.
Fulton has a very unique piece of memorabilia now. For those of you who don't know, Trent McDuffie wears number 22. He wore 22 at Washington. He could not wear 22 last year because Juan Thornhill was number 22.
Correct.
Juan Thornhill does not play for the Chiefs anymore. He plays for the Browns, I believe.
Correct.
And therefore, he changed his number to 22.
Which I literally did not learn until today.
Fulton
It's very unaware.
was a big McDuffie fan.
Still am.
Still am.
Love Trent. So good.
And you got his jersey last year.
I did.
You got jersey number 21.
I own a McDuffie number 21. Which apparently might now become a little bit of a collector's item.
Yeah. Yes.
Gonna need for some reason the other 21s to dry up a little bit.
So there you go.
Which I don't know what the NFL's policy for number changing is.
You have to like buy a certain amount of the jerseys.
Because that's the NBA's policy is if you're going to change it for, I think there might be some reasons that, get around this rule. But for the most part, if you do it, if you do it, you have to buy up like every remaining bit of your old number.
Yeah. Which is probably not a lot.
Probably not a lot of 21s that'd be bought up there, but
how about that, Fulton?
Does take it out of circulation.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a good thing.
I'm gonna go to eBay and see how much this is already worth.
You're gonna be like one of the real McDuffie stands.
Depending on how much eBay's willing to offer me for it, I might switch to a 22 eventually if eBay gets me enough money.
So we're gonna hear from McDuffie and Steve Spagnuolo coming up here in a little bit. But the bad news, ladies and gentlemen. Kadarius Toney tweaked his knee as he was shagging punts before practice yesterday. He did not practice today. Number one question about the Chiefs wide receiver unit was, can Kadarius Toney stay healthy? The answer to that is right now, no. It's not. This is what Travis Kelce had to say about Kadarius Toney today at his press conference.
It's just electric, man. We're gonna miss KT's just his ability to make a play out of nowhere, and just kind of gain that momentum. He was that piece for us in the Super Bowl. He was that piece for us throughout the season last year, and just getting that thing right. We got all the confidence in the world in our training staff here to get him ready either by season or early on in the season. Got our fingers crossed that we get him back as soon as possible, and it's just letting him heal up, and we'll take care of the load until he gets back. But KT ain't going anywhere, man. We missed that guy already.
I want to preface this by saying that Travis Kelce is not a doctor.
No.
He is not a trainer.
No.
He's not. But he's also there, and he kind of hears what people are saying. He says that he's going to be out for a little bit. He says, hopefully they get him back for the first game. So we're looking at some type of knee injury, maybe a meniscus, something of that nature. It's not ideal. Not ideal. Considering this was the number one question on offense. Running backs, good. Tight ends, good. O-line, good. Quarterback, good. Wide receiver, good, but can one guy stay healthy? Kadarius Toney just tweeted out something. He tweeted a video of Patrick Mahomes hugging Julie Freimeyer. Julie Freimeyer has got to be the most popular athletic trainer, like not head athletic trainer, like Rick Burkholder's in charge of everything. But we all know who Julie Freimeyer is. You do. And if you don't, well, she was the one in charge of getting Patrick Mahomes' ankle healthy. We saw that one from Patrick Mahomes after the Super Bowl. Rick Burkholder tweeted it out and said, for those of you Chiefs fans who are wondering who was responsible for this, and it was a picture of Julie Freimeyer. She's the Chiefs' assistant athletic training wizard. And if you watch the Netflix documentary Quarterback, she even was on the damn thing. She actually got interviewed, and then he's going through all the stuff and she's like, this is going to hurt. And you saw that. That's what this video is. And then Kadarius Toney tweeted, quote, trust her with my life. And then the ellipses, little ... Kind of sounds like Julie Freymeyer's job is now Kadarius Toney. Shout out Julie Freymeier, you're the best. She should get unlimited beers or wine drinks or margaritas or seltzers, or is a High Noon a seltzer?
Yes.
Okay, that falls into the
I think.
I don't know.
It's like it's a vodka seltzer essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She should get free all of that for life.
Yeah.
Like for real. That's just my opinion.
She does the Lord's work.
Yep. So this isn't good.
No,
It's not good.
We do have a latest tweet from Adam Schefter about the Kadarius Toney situation about 10 minutes ago. Schefter says, Chiefs wide receiver Kadarius Toney, who underwent an offseason cleanup procedure on his knee, aggravated the injury Sunday while fielding a punt, which we know, is expected to miss some time during training camp, but he is supposed to be ready for the start of the regular season per league sources. So he's going to miss some time in camp, but should be good to go by week 1. Which, bummer that he's missing some time in camp. Puts him a little more behind the 8 ball again of trying to be ready with the offense and the flow and everything like that. But you mainly just make sure he was on the field for when things actually matter.
Yep. Since he was drafted in 2021, he has only played in 19 total games and has started just 8. He was drafted. He's played in 2 years in the NFL. Right? He's only played in 19 games.
Yeah.
That's not great.
No.
It's not like a hamstring injury where, like last year when Trent McDuffie got his hamstring injury, that sucked because you're going to deal with that the rest of the year. You were going to deal with the hamstring issue for the rest of the year for Trent McDuffie. That's just the way it is. Because he had his knee worked on and he's already re-aggravated it, he's going to have to deal with this probably for the rest of the year. This is going to be a thing the rest of the year. And this is his knee, okay? If you remember correctly, last year when he got hurt, it was his ankle that was a problem.
Yeah.
Now, his ankle injury was, I remember it. He cut too hard. And
he cut so hard he hurt himself.
Yeah.
He's wound so tight.
Yes. So that's a problem.
Yeah.
When it comes to that. So he did. He in May of 2021, he underwent minor knee surgery earlier in the offseason, expected to be ready for training camp. This is now starting to become a problem.
I will say, Kadarius Toney has said to chime in again.
Oh, what?
Literally 2 minutes ago.
Okay, what do we got from our man?
Per our man, Kadarius Toney. So straight from the horse's mouth here, or I guess with his size, straight from the pony's mouth. Report slightly wrong, but I'll definitely be back soon. Love you. Hashtag Chiefs King. I'm assuming when he says stuff's slightly wrong means thinks he's coming back sooner rather than later.
Correct.
I don't think any man's going to tweet that. It'd be like, by the way, they wrong. Yeah, I'm going to be out till like November because no player's ever going to do that. They're always going to want to be back sooner rather than later. So that's good that at least he's very positive he's going to be back, hopefully a little bit sooner. But it's a bummer, and the injury concerns with Toney are real. Like, it is his one big problem is like injury history and being prone to injury. It takes a minute for it to become an actual thing for a guy. Like, a few injuries does not an athlete make, but we're getting enough of a Rolodex here that Toney's injury prone, and it's his worst flaw that he just can't stay on a field. And we've talked about it all the time. Sometimes the best ability is availability.
He's the anti Frank Gore.
Yeah, because Frank Gore for 20 years was taking a pounding every game at running back. Never got hurt, that old man.
I mean, right now, Kadarius Toney is Adalberto Mondesi.
Honestly, yes.
The talent is
more talented Adalberto Mondesi.
Is undeniable. See, I don't know about more talented. We've seen what Mondesi could do for about a 2-week stretch.
That's a longer discussion to be had, but I've started moving to the point, looking back at some things. I think we were overvaluing some of Mondesi's abilities, but nonetheless, similar players.
That's the reason why I think the Chiefs were still interested in the wide receiver market. You weren't, if they were sold off Kadarius Toney's health, then I don't think they would have been reaching out to OBJ or Juju or DeAndre Hopkins. They wouldn't have been doing that. If they weren't worried about Kadarius Toney's health, then there wouldn't be those rumors. If you could tell me right now, and we've said it, if you could guarantee me 14 games of Kadarius Toney this upcoming year, I would take that in a heartbeat for the Kansas City Chiefs. In a heartbeat. And the Chiefs this was the gamble. This was the entire gamble this entire offseason was the health of Kadarius Toney. And he might be back. He might be back. Says report slightly wrong, but I'll definitely be back soon. Is that the new way that they spell back? B-A-K-K?
No, that's just Kadarius Toney.
Are we sure? Because I'm not hip anymore.
That's just Kadarius Toney. Listen, I'm the furthest thing from hip. We should all know this by this point.
No cap? What does that mean? I don't even know what that means.
Cap means you're lying, and so no cap means I'm not lying.
Okay.
Cap mean lying.
So cap
is lying. If like I said, you cap it, means you're lying. Oh. But if I say, Kadarius Toney is the third best receiver for the Chiefs, no cap, means I think he's the third best, and I ain't lying. Cap is lying. I know some of the terms of the modern day kids. I don't know a lot of them.
Why do you have to say no cap after that? If you say that Kadarius Toney is the third best receiver for the Chiefs, you can just say that. You don't need to. That's like
some people in the text of the conversation want to clarify, like it's to add. You're trying to back the strength of the truth of your statement.
Okay.
If you add no cap to your statement, you're trying to say, I mean this. This is the truth. This is the truth. No cap. This is the truth. What I'm saying right here.
So it's more of a stronger statement.
Yeah, it's an intensity modifier.
Okay, there we go. All right.
Man, English teachers are going to have to actually teach this stuff one day.
Hey. I think that is dumb as hell, no cap.
Yes, it is.
Did I do it right? I think I did it right.
Yeah.
I think I did it right.
You're strengthening your belief. You could just say, I think that's stupid. Dumb as hell. You're like, okay, that's pretty strong. You're like, I think that's dumb as hell, no cap means you're like, this is stone cold truth. This is dumb as hell.
It really is.
This has been Talking Hip with Fulton and Jake.
Maybe we should have a new segment where we just talk about youth vernacular.
Oh, buddy, we could do a long time on that. That's why if you see an athlete respond to a tweet with just a cap, they're saying that tweet's lying. That was in an Athletic article I read. They had to embed that. They embedded a tweet that had that. And in that article, they had to explain what that tweet meant.
Nope, no good. No good.
Times change. You gotta keep up. You gotta
Yeah.
learn the lingo a little bit. Just gotta be
Okay.
able to translate.
This is not good. No cap.
It's not great.
This will flare up again. I hope that he doesn't need to play. He doesn't need to play in a preseason game. Like
No.
Kadarius Toney should not play in a preseason game if he's able to.
Yeah.
No cap. Coming up next is National Sprinkle Day today. No cap. We are going to go with our favorite ice cream toppings. See, I didn't say no cap there because there's no point in saying no cap there.
Okay.
Favorite ice cream toppings. That's coming up next. Alrighty, it is very simple today. National Sprinkle Day. Sprinkle is the topping. We all love ice cream. So we are going with our favorite ice cream topping. What do you got?
Number 4 for me is the sprinkles. Sprinkles are nice. They're a fun little addition, but there's just not a lot they add to the dish. They add a nice little bit of flavor, but not a ton. It's only 4.
Sprinkles are completely useless, to be honest with you.
That's a fair point.
They just don't bring much to the table. My number 4, the strawberry drizzle.
Oh, good call.
Like, the strawberry drizzle you put on like angel food cake
I feel
or, something like that. So
Yeah, I feel you.
strawberry drizzle.
Okay. Strawberry drizzle. Strawberry is a very nice flavor. Number 3 for me. It's a topping not often used, but I think is very fun when you can add it because of the flavor it adds. But the annoying part is you got to make them cold, so it makes it a little difficult when they're cold in the situation. Gummy worms on ice cream is delicious. The problem is when they become cold when they do
and
that,
you can't chew them.
and they're a little tougher. Yeah, that's why they're only 3.
My son realized that the hard way.
Yeah, it's tough realization.
About 3 weeks ago, he was eating his ice cream, and then it took a little bit, and then he got to the bottom. There was a gummy bear.
Yeah,
he couldn't eat it.
Yeah,
It was frozen. He's like, Dad, I can't eat it. I was like, son, you just learned a valuable lesson in life.
You did.
You got to eat the gummies early.
You do. That's why I like the worms
Early.
when they're on top. You get through them quickly so they don't get too hard.
Number 3 for me, the caramel syrup.
Ooh, caramel syrup.
Love
That's a good
caramel
pull.
syrup.
Solid. Number 2 for me, you put bits of brownie in ice cream and it makes it so much better.
Okay.
Love brownie chunks of ice cream.
Number 2 for me, whipped cream.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. That's a good call.
If you get me whipped cream with some strawberry drizzle or some caramel with ice cream,
You're good.
boom.
Fantastic. Number 1 for me is very simple. It is chocolate sauce. Chocolate sauce is fantastic. It makes any ice cream better.
Okay, you called it sauce.
Chocolate syrup.
Okay, because that's my number 1 as well. Chocolate sauce? It ain't sauce.
It's an interchangeable term. They're synonyms.
Syrup.
They're synonyms.
You Google right now chocolate on ice cream and it all says syrup.
It's synonyms.
Do you say it's syrup or syrup?
Syrup.
Yeah, I do too. I don't say syrup.
No, syrup. That's syrup.
Yeah, syrup. I'm with you
Taste
on
of the
that.
word.
I didn't include any candy. Hot fudge as well, coming from the text line. Coming next, we're going to go defense. We are going with Steve Spagnuolo and Trent McDuffie. We'll get into more of the Chris Jones contract discussion, as well as overreaction, proper reaction in the 2 o'clock hour. Adam Teicher of ESPN will join us as well. We'll get to that to finish off this edition of Mic'd Up. Jake and Fulton Caster with you from the text line. I guess Fulton puts maple sauce on his pancakes.
Those are two entirely different processings, maple syrup and chocolate syrup / chocolate sauce. There's a colloquial term of calling chocolate syrup also chocolate sauce. They are synonyms in the American lexicon. There's not a synonym for maple syrup. I get your joke, text line. It is a perfectly fine joke, but entirely incorrect when it comes to grammar.
That was a lot there.
It was, but it is well.
I think it's chocolate syrup.
They are synonyms, Jake. They're interchangeable terms.
But not.
It's regional. I can guarantee you the difference entirely will come down to regional dialect. It's just like with pop and soda. There's not a correct way. There is where are you from to say. We're down to regional dialects here.
So do you agree with me that everybody calls it maple syrup though?
Yes, because there's no different term based on regional dialect. Like maple syrup is maple syrup. Now, if someone wants to tell me that in different parts of the world that maybe it is called something different, I won't say they're wrong for saying it. We've had this debate with coyote and coyote before. The American Southwest isn't wrong for calling it coyote. They just pronounce it differently. Whereas we call them coyotes. It's truly soda versus pop is what this is. Neither one is more correct than the other, but depending on where you grew up, it changes what it is. I will say this. I cannot tell you 100% whether that is why it's chocolate syrup and chocolate sauce. I, though, am strongly of the belief that probably is the difference is regional dialect. And for some reason, I've just used them as both. It's not about the consistency of the product. It's about just what people have referred to it as. Just like it is not wrong to call all Coke products soda, but it's also not wrong to call them all pop.
Oh, no, those people are wrong.
No, they're not. It's regional dialects.
No, they're wrong. Because pretty much, I tell my wife this all the time. I think you're absolutely ridiculous saying, I'd like a Coke. And then someone's like, oh, what would you like?
Well, no, that's
I'd like
fair.
a Sprite.
No.
That is
that
ridiculous.
one's correct. What I was saying was the term soda and pop. I agree with you on using Coke as the generic.
You.
I think where that's come from, that's, I get why they say it that way. I'm not trying to be mean to those people. I feel it's a little.
You can be mean to those people because that's ridiculous.
That one's
what kind of Coke would you like? I'd like a Pepsi. How about you just say I want a Pepsi?
Yes. Like at that point, the problem runs into you're using a branded term as a catch-all term, and that is a dangerous thing to do.
Ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
What's not ridiculous is the expectations for the Kansas City Chiefs to have a top 10 defense. Justin Reed said that yesterday. Who also has gained some weight, kept his body fat down, still feels
put on
fast.
that good weight.
Still feels fast.
Yeah, got to put on that good
That's a
weight.
positive. But Steve Spagnuolo met with the media today, and he kind of addressed that. And there is one big issue for the Kansas City Chiefs on defense. I can tell you right now, the Kansas City Chiefs defense will get a top 10 defense if they do one specific, if they improve at one specific stat. But here's what Steve Spagnuolo had to say.
Those guys is, conventional NFL stats says number one defense in the NFL is the total yardage. We don't really go down that road. To us, it's a defensive efficiency. There's 9 categories to defensive efficiency. You guys have probably seen it before. And we want to be number one in the NFL in defensive efficiency, points allowed, third down, red zone, right? It's all the rankings in those particular categories. So I'm with Nick. I'd like us to climb up there. I'm not going to worry about that week to week, but at the end of the year, I'd like that to be the ultimate goal.
Is that just an overall improvement, or are there certain elements within those 9 rankings?
There's element, well, the 9, the point I made was, so I went back to the 4 years we've been here. We were 8th. The first year I was here in defensive efficiency. The other 3 years we were in the middle of the pack. It was 18, 19. I think last year we were 15th. And we looked at it and said, okay, where do we got to get better at to climb? The first one's red zone. The second one is some third down, even though it wasn't terrible. But there are certain areas in there that we need to get better at. We were really good at not giving up big plays. Right, so that helped us there. So we look at it. But more than anything, it's building the foundation of the system.
Steve, understand you haven't been in pads yet, but have you learned anything about Donahue out here or OTAs?
Yeah, I think he's a passionate football player. He's really into it. Like today, I watched him make a play, and he was fired up for himself. But then I watched him a couple plays later. One of his teammates, a D-line teammate, made a big play, and he was just as fired up for those guys. I like that. That's not a vet that's sitting over there just thinking about himself. He's thinking about his teammates, and I like that part of him. And he's been a really good addition to this point. Hopefully, it shows up in the games.
What expectations do you have?
To play a couple of multiple positions inside and outside. He did that in San Francisco, so we like that kind of flexibility. Be stern in the run game. My expectation right now for him, quite frankly, is to learn the system. That's step number one, and then just let his natural ability take over after that.
Where are you mixing and matching a lot of different quarterbacks, different
Corners? Yeah. Well, we really haven't. Listen, so LJ's coming back off an injury, right? We know Trent is doing the same. So we're kind of, we've got their rep count down right now. And because of that, you're seeing in and out. Rick's got those guys on a rep count, and Dave and Donald are doing a good job. Specifically. But since they're coming out, somebody's got to go in, and that's why you're seeing all the moving pieces. Yeah.
We're going to do for you. What is it that you sort of see in his presence? And
A lot of what just said about Charles, he's the guy that's played a bunch of different positions, really intelligent. It's funny. Yeah, I've had a bunch of free agents come to systems in the years I've been here, and sometimes it takes a little while, for guys to get comfortable with their surroundings, with their teammates. Drew, it's like he stepped right in, and he'd been here for 3 years in terms of communicating with his teammates, what he did off of the field, how much of a pro he is. He's had a great influence on not just the linebacker room, but the defense in general.
Sort of his comfort, but also his obvious grasp of what you're doing.
Yeah, he's been really good that way. Real multiple. He's playing a couple of different positions right now. Before it's all said and done, he'll probably play all 3 linebacker spots. And then we have a couple other packages where he's going to be a little bit different.
You have so many young players on your team last year who made big strides and helped you guys so much. When you see them now, how much more prepared are they at this point this year?
Yeah, light years. Although I had to remind one of them, I won't say who, that he was going back to his rookie habits, instead of where he eventually got to. But been doing this thing a long time. I really enjoy young guys when they do that, and then just see how much they mature. For me, I don't know if you guys have they been in the locker room and have you guys seen the guys and been around them yet? Or when they come back sometimes after that first year, facially they look different to me. Like they come in, they look like young pups. Then all of a sudden, a year later, that's a grown man right there. So a bunch of those guys, I think, are like that. Yeah. Yeah, I tell you what, he did some really good things in the OTAs. He's a competitor. Like he doesn't back down. We like that. I mean, we're a press team. That's what we ask our guys to do, and I think that's one of the things he does pretty well.
Mike,
yeah.
I asked him about your system and learning.
Yeah.
It's pretty tough. He said he learned a lot when he was down with Todd Bowles.
Yeah.
Talk about where he's at.
Well, it's probably he's in a great place right now. Unfortunately for him, he missed all that foundational reps back in the spring. And he was dealing with the injury, and I don't think he was able to train quite like he normally would because of the hamstring or groin. I think he pulled a pull, right? But mentally, he's in a much better place now than he was even back then. He's been in the league. He's a pro. I mean, guys have come from other teams in our system in the past, and all the years I've been doing it, and it usually takes a little while. But Mike's come from another multiple system, and I don't think it's going to be a problem. It's just going to be terminology, and we might do something a little bit different. But I think he's used to having a volume of defenses. I think he'll be fine.
So that is what Steve Spagnuolo had to say. Last year, the Kansas City Chiefs finished what in sacks?
Second.
Quarterback pretty good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Last year, the Kansas City Chiefs overall defense, right? Overall defense. What did they finish?
I'm gonna say 18th.
Now, are we talking yards or what do you want? What are we going to go?
I don't know. I thought you were setting the barometer here.
Okay. If you want to go yards per game, the Kansas City Chiefs finished with 358 yards per game allowed. That's bad.
Good for what in the league?
24th in the
That's
league.
not good. What was their scoring?
Scoring defense,
More important than yards.
point per game. Chiefs gave up 25 points per game.
Not great.
That's actually not bad. That's top 10.
Well, in today's definitely.
Dallas led the league. Cincinnati was second. Philly third. San Francisco fourth. Points per game. They were all right. For the way the Kansas City Chiefs become a better defense. All right. It's very simple. They have to improve on one category. And that is in the red zone. That's it. That's it. That's all they have to do. If the Kansas City Chiefs can improve on red zone defense, they will be they might even be top 5 defense, Fulton. Okay? Because the Kansas City Chiefs were ranked 28th in red zone
They were
defense.
so bad in the red
They
zone
allowed
last
a
year.
touchdown 65% of the time. Only Tampa Bay, the Raiders, and Indianapolis were worse. Kansas City had the same red zone defense as the Cardinals. That's where you got to improve. That is where you have to improve. And if they improve red zone defense, this team will be stupid hard to beat this year. It makes it hard for red zone because teams are going for it on fourth down a lot. And I understand that. That's what makes it that much tougher. Because if you get a stop in the red zone and they go for it on fourth down, you don't get it. That's 7 points that you just saved. That's a big deal. What about Trent McDuffie, Fulton's boy? It's a good guy to be your guy, by the way, Fulton.
Pretty great.
I like Trent McDuffie.
Trent's awesome.
Here's what Trent McDuffie had to say to the media today.
Was there anything about that experience that helped you out? How do you feel physically right now as far as football?
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm feeling good. I'm excited to finally be back out there with the guys. Watching them during OTAs, it was tough because I couldn't be out there, but just watching this defense move around and get after it, and the rookies coming in, and just how everything gelled together, it was exciting to watch from the sideline, and it definitely made coming into this camp a lot more exciting.
What's been the issue with how you're feeling now?
Yeah, I had a little issue with my calf. Right now, working with the team and just this offseason, just getting it right. I'm feeling good. Yeah.
Who can this defense get better this year?
Yeah, I think a big thing for us is just takeaways. We know we got guys who make plays, we can cover, we can play the zone, we can blitz the quarterback, but big thing for us is just getting that ball back. And I know Spags talked a lot about attitude defense and 11 guys at the ball 24/7. I think that's something that this defense is really going to hone in on, is just make sure don't give up on any play. 100%. Yeah, I dropped a few last year, so I definitely have to come back and make up for it this year.
What have you seen early on here from Nick Jones?
Oh, Nick Jones? Oh, man. Shoot. I remember last year for me, it's tough coming in here and trying to learn this defense, and a lot of things are getting thrown at you, especially him being in the nickel position, being at corner, and honestly, he just took everything on the chin. He's listed all the coaching points, listed us, and he's out there just working. And that's really all you can ask a rookie during this time, is just put your head down, keep learning, and keep going out there confident. That's what he's been doing.
You guys are second year.
Yeah. Man, we still going. I mean, it's like you said, it's year 2 for us. I mean, we still babies in the league. So the sky's the limit for us. I think a big thing for us is just sticking together as always and continue to just push each other. I mean, not really getting satisfied with what we did last year. You know, last year was great, but turning that page and being like, okay, this is new year. We have else to prove, and I think we're ready for that.
Trent, you talk about
I know Spags likes me in there a lot, and I know last year towards the end of the season I was in there a lot, and like I always told him, I said, wherever you need me, corner, nickel, I mean, you want them at safety, like, I just want to be out there and be able to play for you, play for this team, and be a good teammate. So wherever he wants me, I'm going to be ready for it. Yeah.
I'm sure it's not this season. You got some personal growth for yourself. Whatever.
Honestly, it's funny. I'm not somebody who really cares about personal goals. I'm not someone who writes, I got to get this amount of picks, this amount of stats. For me, a big thing is obviously Super Bowl. That's always the number one goal, making it back there. But just being the best teammate I can on and off the field. I think for me, being able to do that allows me to wake up every day with a goal. And that's just being out there and having the leaders trust me, having the rookies trust me, and making sure that once this football is done and we're off and, we're living our own lives, that they can call me whenever they need me. And that's something I stand by.
Things that Coach Banks said was, just looking in the eyes of your second-year players, how you seem different. Last year, like, oh, it's grown in now.
Yeah.
Do you feel different as a group or yourself individually?
Yeah. One thing I think we're definitely out there talking a lot more. Last year as rookies, it was what are my plays, what are my plays. This year, a lot more communication. I think guys are a lot more confident out there in the plays, and I feel like looking at it now, especially us rookies and even some of the vets, just having a gear being developed in the system allows us to play so much faster. And I think you can start seeing guys like Nightjohn today making a couple breakups, just not thinking, out there just reacting, playing, and just going to get the ball. Yeah, man, that's a good group of guys. They work. I know Pat really likes them, and their chemistry just keeps getting better each day. I feel like the past 2 days, Pat's thrown 2 perfect balls. I'm like, dang, man, like, I'm there. Like, one of these days I'm going to get you. But, man, no matter what happens, these receivers keep putting their head down and keep working. And that's something that you got to respect.
Your thoughts about Eric Prince? He made a couple plays out there today. Some of them were drafted.
Yeah.
He jumped out on paper on the field.
Yeah, man. All our running backs right now, they're fast, they're agile, they're hard workers, they're strong, and especially a guy like Generic Prince, so he got that chip on his shoulder. And that's something like you saw Pop last year, came in this kind of just like, they didn't give me a shot, but I'm going to go make one for myself. And for me, looking at it, I love that kind of thing because it's like you got somebody over there who's really trying to grind each day, and that's only going to make everybody else better. Cool. Appreciate it. Yep.
That is what Trent McDuffie had to say. And Trent McDuffie, do what you did last year, except maybe this year add an interception. Otherwise, I'm perfectly fine with what he did. Trent McDuffie on the field made the Chiefs better. No question. Coming up in the 2 o'clock hour, we'll talk with Chris Jones. We'll also get over proper reaction. We'll talk with Adam Teicher on all things Chiefs, Chris Jones, Kadarius Toney, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and who other Chiefs we'll get into. That's all coming up here on Mic'd Up. up on this Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. The month of July is almost over. That's incredible. 1 week left of the month of July. A week from today. It's July 31st. How about that? Man, month's flying by. We are we're 5 weeks away from the football season starting for Washburn and high school.
Mm-hmm. We're almost there.
Wow. That's crazy.
We're almost there.
That's crazy. So,
man, that's crazy.
That's crazy. 5 weeks away from football. No cap.
You gotta stop.
No cap.
You gotta stop.
We're going to talk with Adam Teicher coming up at the bottom of the hour.
Man, see if Adam knows what that means.
He doesn't. And he shouldn't. And no one really should. We got overreaction, proper reaction, all coming up. As always, let us know your thoughts. Check us out on our text line, 785-272-9429. So simple, so easy. You can also leave us a comment in our YouTube comment section as we stream all of our YouTube shows. You get reaction and recaps from all the games that we cover. But today's big story, there's two of them. One, Kadarius Toney's injury. Sounds like it's going to be better than reported, according to Kadarius Toney. And Chris Jones is still not there. I am a little bit interested in Chris Jones's tactic. He's choosing to hold out instead of hold in.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some people are going, how do you hold in?
It's very, very simple. You show up to camp, so you don't lose any money. But you basically say, nah, can't practice, buddy. Ankle's barking at me. Can't do it today. Tummy's a little rumbly. Can't do it.
Yep.
You find ways to not practice.
I got a headache.
Yep. You basically fake injury to not play,
or you just don't practice.
Yeah, or you'll just say, I'm not practicing. Like, it's a strategy. It doesn't cost you money, but gets across the same message of, I ain't doing work until I get what I want.
You know, it's, hey, first team defense, go out there. Chris Jones, no.
It can lead to a bit more confrontation.
No, I'm not doing it.
It can't. That's the danger of the hold in, is it can lead to a bit more confrontation.
So our friends at Over the Cap put a very simple way of doing this. All right. Chris Jones is better than all the other defensive tackles except for Aaron Donald. How about you do this? Hey, Chris, we think you're better than them, not quite as good as Aaron Donald. The meet in the middle number, 31 million to 24 million, is essentially $27.8 million. That way you get half of what you think you are of Aaron Donald and half of better than the Quinnen Williams and the Jeffrey Simmonses of the world. So that's the starting point to the guys that Over the Cap. $27.8 million. And that's what I wonder the Chiefs number. There are two things that I now am interested in. We know that Chris Jones wants $30 million. That has been reported by the Athletic's Nate Taylor. $30 million. That to me is too big of a number. But what I want to know is, what was the number that the Chiefs were willing to give? Were the Chiefs willing to give 20? Was it 25? That was their first number?
Yeah.
And then we started the negotiation process? Or was the Chiefs' first number 28 and said, look, do the Chiefs have a number? They always seem to.
They 100% did.
Then what's that number? And
Yeah.
have the Chiefs said that to Chris Jones's agent? And at what point in time do the Chiefs just? There's a part of me that says that the Chiefs will just not extend Chris Jones. He'll play this year. They'll tag him. And then maybe they trade him next year. Or they play him this year and they tag him next year. And then it is, you're on your own. We appreciate it. Like, there's a part of me that says he just plays this year on a $28 million cap hit because he's already under the cap. They can tag him next year because his cap hit next year is going to be high as well. I believe the tag next year would be around $30 million.
It's roughly $30 million
Because you add the top three salaries together and you add a percentage and that's the tag. So your tag is going to be around $29 million. Okay, great. So it's the same as next year. I wonder if that's not where the Chiefs are going to go, because then you get him for his age 29 season and his age 30 season. And then you don't worry about it after that. Whereas if you extend him, you go 29, 30, and then you have 31 and potentially 32.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get the cap flexibility that you could do to maneuver. And we do know that they've got to do something. They don't have enough cap space right now. They have to do something, whether it's extend Chris Jones, lower his cap hit, or they do the Mahomes deal, or they figure out they move money somehow. Because you need to have about $5 million in cap space to operate through the year. That's just how it works. There's still plenty of time. They don't need to get a deal done right now. They could wait to get a deal done in October, November, December, January. They could do that. You're going to lose some leverage power when it comes to the salary or from the franchise tag.
Yeah, and I don't know how willing the Chiefs would be to going for this franchise tag plan with how big that number is going to be. Like, committing to a $30 million cap hit with no flexibility behind it. I just don't know if something Kansas City wants to do. That's where I'm not strong on the belief that if Chris Jones doesn't get an extension, that the Chiefs would just plan to tag him next year, because that number is so big.
But it's only $2 million more than this year.
And this number's already prohibitive, though.
That's true.
Like, the 28's already prohibitive.
It's already in there, right? I get what you're saying.
So, like, 30 is not better. And then the negative part to franchise tags is they aren't flexible.
Correct.
It isn't like you're like, all right, Chris, it's a $30 million franchise tag, but let's, play a little bit with some funny money here and move it around this year, convert some of that to just a signing bonus and lower the cap hit. No, it is a $30+ million cap hit. You don't get to say anything else. Like, that lack of flexibility is something the Chiefs have long tried to not have to deal with. Or if they have dealt with it, it's because it has been very simple to deal with. So I'm still very confident a deal gets done. How fast it gets done, we'll see. I'm still not going to get probably too concerned until we're through the middle part of August. This is early posturing. Like, how long does Chris Jones hold out becomes the question. Again, he's losing $50,000 a day every day he doesn't show up. At some point, the holdout ends. How quickly that happens, who knows?
When do you think this? I don't want to. And they live in a different world.
Yeah.
Every day that he doesn't show up, that's $50,000. We look at that and think that's ridiculous. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? That's why you can't compare your job with Chris Jones's job. Because your job is not this in any facet the same as Chris Jones's job, unless you're an NBA player or an NFL player of some sort, or like a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. When we're talking about this kind of money,
yeah,
because $50,000 to you and me is I'm not showing up to work the next day and y'all deal with it. And then I'll show up, the day after I have a margarita or two, because I'm pretty jacked that I just got 50 grand. So what day do you think he does come back? Are we looking at a week?
I think the latest he shows up is August 1st. I think by next Tuesday he's in camp.
So you're looking at that would
11
be
days.
An 11-day holdout?
$550,000.
Just for not showing up.
Mm-hmm.
Why doesn't he do the hold in? Why don't you do that?
It sends a stronger message. A stronger message is being sent. Because hold in is, well, I don't want to lose money at this. I'm just not going to show up. By holding out, Chris is saying, I'm willing to lose money over this. When you hold in, you don't lose money. You don't put money on the line. You're there. I mean, all you're saying is, I'm just not going to practice. Okay. You think that really hurts anyone's feelings that you don't practice, really?
That's what I'm saying.
That's my point of, like, the holdout sends more of a message.
I think whether you hold out or you hold in, to me, that doesn't matter if I'm the Chiefs. Great, fine. Come here, don't practice. We're still not changing.
Well, yeah,
but I guess that's what the Katz brothers are saying. Maybe they will. It's all negotiating tactics.
It's all negotiating. And the point of the holdout versus the hold in is, I'm not just withholding my labor, is what Chris Jones is doing. He's not just withholding his labor in terms of practicing and maybe helping the Chiefs do what they want to do and make sure the Chiefs can plan a little bit better for their season. He's, by taking the financial hit, he is saying this is bigger than just this year. This is a bigger thing to me than just this year. This is a bigger thing to me than just, what money I'm going to make this year with fines and whatnot. That's where, to me, the holdout is a higher level of posturing than a hold in. Because the minute you're willing to start to lose money to make your point, you're really starting to show how committed you are to making the point. Like, it's one thing to make a point, but it not harm you financially.
Counterpoint.
Okay.
The Chiefs don't give a damn. So you're just losing money.
Yeah. I mean, they wouldn't maybe give a damn if you were holding in.
That's why you're just losing $500,000 just to lose $500,000, because the Chiefs.
It is the point of the matter.
Well, that's like your viewpoint. That's how you view this holdout.
But that's what Chris is doing. Like, that's Chris's point.
Well, no, that's Chris's. He thinks that, this is going to affect the Chiefs. The Chiefs, honestly, don't give a damn. I think the Chiefs, honestly, are like, great, holdout. We don't care. This isn't going to affect us any. Like,
see, and we can say that all we
but
want.
We don't
At some
know.
point, it does. At some point, for all the talk of we're going to keep doing our business as we do it, we would like Chris here not. Here's the fact of the matter. With Chris Jones not being in that camp, every single day, every higher up at that camp, that team has to deal with that question every day. They're hounded and harangued about it every day.
I don't
get up.
So. Travis Kelce wasn't asked a single question.
I said higher ups. I didn't say players.
Who gets harangued?
Brett Veach is going to be constantly asked.
By who?
I'm not public media, but just Brett Veach could be walking around camp. Someone's going to go, hey, Brett, where's Chris Jones?
Oh, I disagree with that. No.
They get asked about it constantly.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
No, because no one wants to talk about it because they don't want to hear about it. Like
the Chiefs don't want to hear about it.
No, I can tell you, if Brett Veach is walking around that training camp, you think other people for the Chiefs are asking Brett Veach?
I'm not saying other people for the Chiefs.
Who?
The fact of the matter is, it is in the news cycle that Chris Jones isn't at camp.
Correct.
That doesn't go away. That is a thing that was always on your mind.
Whose mind?
Anybody involved in the situation. Brett Veach can, like Andy Reid. Andy Reid can say all he wants. Well, I'm just going to keep doing business. That's their business. It is in part of Andy Reid's brain that Chris Jones ain't there.
Oh, I don't think so.
It is.
No. Andy Reid is of the mind of, if you ain't here, I don't give a damn. Like, and Andy Reid ain't thinking about the defense. Spags, maybe.
There you go.
Maybe. But You think Spags is gonna go talk to Brett Veach and all that kind of stuff? No, none of the coaches are gonna go up to Brett Veach and be like, "Hey, why don't you get this done? Hey, why don't you get this done?" That's not that they will not do that. That's why I think the hold out in this situation is a bit perplexing because I truly believe the Chiefs don't care if you're there or not right now because you're going to play this year, Chris Jones. If you don't get paid this year. And if you don't get paid this year, then what are you going to do? Sit out next year? Like, I think he will eventually come to camp.
100%.
But what I just think you're just wasting like $500,000. But that's me. You and I differ on this. I would do the hold in, and I think the same. It would work out the same. He does not. The Katz brothers do not. But August 1st, that's your date.
Nah, he'll be there by August 1st.
Does a deal get done before he shows up?
That I don't know.
I think they're getting close.
Hope so. I mean, remember last year Orlando Brown didn't show up for 2 days without his extension that eventually showed up. And extension never got done.
That's a good point.
Like, it took Orlando Brown 2 days. But Orlando Brown didn't have as much cash saved up.
No,
he could only take about $100,000.
He needed the money.
Chris Jones different.
Yeah,
that man's made a lot of money.
He about ready to make a lot more too.
Yeah, probably.
Coming up next, overreaction, proper reaction here on Mic'd Up. Proper reaction. North Carolina coming to Kansas next year in basketball is the biggest name that can come to Allen Fieldhouse. For those, for while you're posturing, for those of you who don't know, is that North Carolina and KU are going to do a home-and-home basketball contract. Not this year, but 24. North Carolina is going to come to Allen Fieldhouse. It'll just be the second time ever that they would have come to Allen Fieldhouse. KU will be going to Chapel Hill in 25. The first time they've ever been to the Dean Dome.
Mm-hmm.
Overreaction, proper reaction. This is the biggest name that can come to Allen Fieldhouse.
Oh, I'm only saying overreaction. Because if it's one of those where like, I feel like just because I can't think of something immediately doesn't mean it's inherently true. It's definitely big, but like, I think Duke gets an argument if Duke ever came to Allen. Like, I think they get an argument because for a while it was Kentucky. Like, Kentucky coming to Allen was huge, and then KU going to Rupp. I think
it happened like 8 straight years.
Yeah, and now because of that, North Carolina jumps over it because we've seen Kentucky and KU go at it at Allen and at Rupp. But like, I think it's over just because I think Duke gets an argument. I will listen to the argument saying that this is the biggest moment to come down, fellas, fully because North Carolina coming to Allen is a big deal. Then KU going to the Dean Dome is huge.
It's proper reaction because Duke won't be coming to KU because they're playing in the Champions Classic every 4 years.
That's a fair point.
So they won't. So yes, this is the biggest name in college basketball coming to Allen Fieldhouse. That's pretty cool.
I'm just excited that this is a way we can start putting to rest there's never any good marquee games in November.
Overreaction, proper reaction. This will start a trend.
I honestly think that's proper. I think
you're right. I hope you're right.
Kick a few dominoes.
I think that's an overreaction. I still don't think people will make it. It needs to. There needs to be more big time games happening in the non-conference. Because right now the non-conference outside of about 5 games is a snooze fest. I hope you're right. I want you to be right. My gut tells me overreaction until I see it, then I'll change.
And I will say this. I think it will not be a quick change nor a quick and dramatic increase. I think this might trigger a very small incremental increase of more marquee games in November. I hope so too. I'm not massively convicted on it. But I'd hope so just because I think it would make things a little bit better.
Okay.
Overreaction, proper reaction. With Kadarius Toney's injury being a thing, the wide receiver that will benefit the most from his absence is Sky Moore.
Proper reaction. I think
not you and Team Richie James over there.
No, because I think Richie James is already going to be the guy. I think Richie James is going to be good. I'm telling you, I like Richie James. No, because the hierarchy of guys goes Toney, MVS, James, Sky Moore. I think now with Toney being injured, there's a better chance that Sky Moore can jump up higher. I think this is a big benefit for Sky Moore. I'm with you. I think that is the proper reaction. I think people are sleeping on Richie James. I think people don't realize that Richie James to do what he did there at New York with that terrible quarterback play. And then they had nobody else. Like you could just play straight up on anybody. People are going to be doubling. You're going to get good matchups if you're Richie James.
Richie James.
Like, no, I think Richie James was going to be a good wide receiver and get reps regardless. Plus the fact that he knew the playbook.
Yeah.
I mean, Kafka's offense and Daboll's offense, he's coming from there. So it's not a huge transition. I think Richie James is going to be, he's the guy, everybody's talking about Rashee Rice, and everybody's talking about Justin Watson, Sky Moore, Toney. No, I think Richie James is the guy who's going to surprise people. But this benefits Sky Moore to me a little bit more because I think Richie James is ahead of Sky Moore.
I think so. Well, I don't know if I put Richie James above Sky Moore. I think Richie James will be a nice piece to this offense. I do not like. He is what he is at this point. Like, he's going to be a nice little fit to this system with what he does. I'm going to need to see him do these eye-popping things in camp once the pads come on. We're in padless practices right now. That doesn't mean really a lot.
They don't really do a ton of hitting anyways. So that's why padded practices only matter up front.
It's not hitting. You get more contact in pads. It's not hitting. It's not the fear of I'm going to catch a pass through the middle and get whacked. There is more contact just in general across the positions once the pads come on. I agree with you. It's the biggest identifier in the trenches.
Yeah.
That is the biggest. But even for like corners and like receivers versus DBs, you get more contact and they get more physical when the pads come on. Not a ton. I'm not saying it's some big dramatic thing,
I don't
but
think
they
it's
get more
enough
physical.
Because his is all yards after the catch. So once he catches it, they ain't gonna hit him. They're not hitting him after he catches it.
All I'm saying is I think Richie James will be a nice addition. I thinking he will do.
Who's gonna have more receiving yards, Richie James or Sky Moore?
Sky Moore.
Really?
Hands down.
Hands down.
Hands down.
Hands down.
Hands down.
Wow. We will. Maybe that's what I'll ask Adam Teicher.
Yeah.
Maybe see what he thinks with Kadarius Toney, Chris Jones. We got a lot to get to with Adam Teicher. He joins us next year on Mic'd Up. Jake and Fulton caster with you. We do have Royals baseball coming up tonight, but the big news, a lot happening right now from minicamp up in St. Joe. Training camp going on day number 2. No Chris Jones. Kadarius Toney not practicing due to a knee tweak. And to talk all things Chiefs, we go to the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits phone line. We welcome in Adam Teicher, who covers the Chiefs for ESPN.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Adam Teicher. All right, Adam, what's the bigger storyline up there that people are talking about? The Toney injury or the Chris Jones holdout?
Well, I think it's right now, it's the Kadarius Toney injury. I mean, he's been so brittle his 2 years in the NFL, basically had a half season each of the 2 years. And now, before practice even starts on the first day, he gets hurt. And he's going to be out for a little while. So, this is one that, the Chiefs sort of built their offseason around Kadarius Toney and thinking he was going to be their number one guy. And he still might, but this is a setback, no doubt about it.
Would the Chiefs have more faith in Kadarius Toney's health than maybe they should have? Because they didn't go re-sign Juju or Jacoby Myers. They didn't want to pay the money for anybody else. So did they feel that, his health is good enough compared to how much money we're willing to spend on wide receivers?
Yeah, I think, if there's anything they're guilty of, it's that maybe they did put too much faith in his ability to stay healthy. And hey, I don't know, maybe he'll come back and he'll play in all 17 games and all their playoff games and everything will be fine. But right now, that doesn't look like a great decision. He's been so brittle and, everybody raves about him. And, I asked Travis Kelce about him today and he just was raving about Toney's ability, and you can see it. I mean, he's got a little bit of Tyreek Hill in him and that change of direction that he has. I mean, it's so quick that, it makes him a difficult player to defend. We saw in the Super Bowl what he means what he can do for the Chiefs in the fourth quarter there with the touchdown catch and also the long punt return that he had. And, but it doesn't do you any good if you can't stay on the field a whole lot. I mean, I don't think you can be a number one receiver if you play 9 or 10 games every year. So, he needs to stay healthy for the Chiefs. They sort of counted on that.
What's the number of games that you would say, yep, he played X amount of games, that's good for me? Is it 12, 14, 17? If you get, how many healthy games from Kadarius is a win for you?
Yeah, how about this? How about just whenever the Chiefs need him? I mean, if they don't need him against the Bears in week 3, then he can sit that one out, and if they don't need him at home against the Raiders when they play them at Arrowhead, he can sit that one out. But they need him. I mean, it's I can't put a number on it, but he's the big guy for the Chiefs. They've kind of built he's sort of their centerpiece to their rebuilding effort at wide receiver after they traded Tyreek Hill. And he's got to be out there. I can't give you a number, though.
All right. Who has the best chance of taking over that role then? Which of the rest of the wide receivers?
Well, I don't know that it's going to be one guy, but, everybody certainly moves up the depth chart a little bit. And, I'm looking at a guy like Rashee Rice, their rookie. I think, he's going to have to factor even more heavily in what the Chiefs are doing. And he already was going to have a role. And now I think as long as Toney's out, he's going to have to play a bigger role. And, I'm looking at a guy like Richie James, who they signed from the Giants and has had a pretty good camp so far. He's got a little bit of that Kadarius Toney ability in him. So, that's another guy I'm looking at. If you're asking me the two guys that are going to maybe really have to pick up the slack that Toney leaves, it's probably going to be those two guys.
I am all aboard the Richie James hype train. I think he's going to outperform a lot of expectations. Is that ridiculous for me to think?
No, I like the guy. I mean, I thought he was going to make the team coming into camp, but I wasn't I was a little bit on the fence about that one, but now I think after what I've seen the last couple days, I think Richie James will make the team, and he's going to play some. I don't know if he's a guy who's going to be an every down guy or you want him to be an every down guy, but he's got a little something to his game, and I think he'll end up helping the Chiefs this year, no doubt.
Alrighty, Fulton and myself were having a little back and forth. Who has the better year this year, Richie James or Sky Moore?
Who took Richie James? Was it you?
Yeah, it was me.
Yeah, Jake took Richie James. I took Sky Moore.
I applaud you. I think that Richie James, assuming both guys stay healthy.
Yeah, yes,
that's
correct.
The
Correct.
obvious.
Yes.
But, yeah, everything being equal, I think Richie James. Now if you're talking about a guy who's going to catch more passes, maybe I would say Sky Moore. But if you're talking about impact, big plays, those types of things, I'll go with Richie James.
We're talking with Adam Teicher of ESPN.com. You know him because he's covered the Chiefs since pretty much they moved to Kansas City. One of the best to do it. All right, Adam. Chris Jones. What's your number one takeaway right now about Chris Jones and his contract situation?
I actually was there the last year they played in Dallas too, so don't forget about that one. Right now, both sides seem to be in a little bit of a holding pattern, and there's no real urgency now that camp has started. Chris Jones can be late and still have a big season, and the Chiefs know that, and Chris Jones knows that. So it seems to be in a little bit of a holding pattern right now. But at some point, there's going to be kind of a deadline if he's going to be ready to go and play well during the regular season. So, they can afford, they have a little bit of time, both sides, to play around with this and posture and do what they need to do and negotiate. But, at some point, they need to get this done.
I always try to look at it this way. Who's being the one that is being more unreasonable? Are like the Chiefs offering $24 million? If that's the case, to me, the Chiefs are being unreasonable. Why would you like that? Come on. But the report, out there that he wants $31 million or $30 million. Like that seems to be unreasonable from Chris Jones' standpoint. Do you have like an inkling on who might be on which side?
Can they both be unreasonable in this?
Yeah.
Can we? I mean, that's possible, right?
Yeah.
And I'm in that camp right now. I think there's some wiggle room that for both sides. I think for a deal to get done, both sides are going to have to get it in a little bit. It's not going to be one side caves or the other side caves and we got a deal. I think to be fair to both sides and for a deal to get done, I think they're going to have to meet in the middle somewhere.
Do you think a deal eventually gets done before what is it? September 7th, I believe, is the first game. Do you think a deal gets done before the season starts?
Oh yeah, you're talking about what? Yeah, I think something will get done. It's a question of when, and will Chris Jones be ready to go by then? The evidence is pretty clear over the years that guys who miss training camp for whatever reason wind up getting hurt at a larger rate than guys who are there for camp for all of camp. So the clock is ticking a little bit in that regard on Chris Jones. So we'll see where this goes.
Why isn't he holding in instead of he's holding out and costing himself free money when he could just hold in and just sit on the sidelines?
Yeah. I think the Chiefs were caught off guard by that too. I think you have more leverage when you're not here. I think the hold in, guys are asking you, hey, when are you going to sign? And, you're a part of this and it makes you look, I think you give up some of your leverage if you do that, if you report and then just don't practice. So I think Chris Jones is maintaining a lot of his leverage by not going up here.
Alrighty, non-injury and non-contract situations. What are a few things that you're most interested in to follow during this, 20-day camp?
Well, number one on my list going in was Kadarius Toney, and could he stay healthy, and what could he carry the load of a number one receiver? And we've already got an answer to one of those questions right now, that he can't stay healthy. And so, what, is he going to return in time to have a big load, or is he going to be what he was last year because he's going to miss so much practice time? Is he just going to be a part-timer who the Chiefs can't count on to have a big load every week? So, that's my number one guy at training camp, is Kadarius Toney, and he's got to get back and practice and show that he can be the guy the Chiefs hope he can be.
When it comes to the defense, Nick Bolton said that this team can have a top 10 defense. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think it's possible. One thing that I think is going to make that kind of a goal difficult for the Chiefs is that, everybody plays the Chiefs thinking they're going to have to score a lot of points, and they're going to have to move the ball, and they're really going to have to come after them to win a game. And so I don't know the Chiefs are going to be able to reach a lot of those statistical goals, just the way that teams are going to play them. You look at a team like the Broncos, for instance, and, you probably feel pretty good if you're playing the Broncos. If you score 20 or in the low 20s, you're probably going to win the game. Well, no one goes into a game against the Chiefs feeling that way. Sometimes it works out that way, but most of the time you're going to need to outscore them and get into the 30s or whatever. So I think the way the Chiefs play on offense and the pressure they put on opposing teams to score points and move the ball, I think is going to hurt them in terms of achieving some statistical goals they might have.
All righty, 2 for the road. Last 2 questions I've got for you. When it comes to training camp, the players don't really like it, but yet the Chiefs have like the hardest training camp apparently of all time. How much correlation is there between the Chiefs being good and having a hard training camp, or just for the fact that the Chiefs have the best quarterback and the best coach?
Well, there's a lot to be said for the best quarterback and a great coach. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But I love how the Chiefs work up here every year. I don't know they necessarily work as hard as people think they might. I don't know that. I think that's overblown a little bit. But they are as efficient as any team out there. I can tell you that much. I mean, they get a lot done, and a lot of times you can see them getting better on a daily basis. We're too early in camp for that right now, but a lot of times you can just see the Chiefs getting better. And it's not a coincidence that a lot of seasons they started off, 4-0, 5-0 under Andy Reid. I mean, that's not coincidence. They've earned that by the way they've conducted camp up here. So I can't tell you they're going to start off 4-0 or 5-0 or even beat the Lions on opening day, but I can probably tell you, just based on past experience, that if they don't start off well this year, it won't be because they goofed around at training camp. I know I've covered some Chiefs teams that you could just tell were wasting their time up at training camp, and they weren't going to be ready when the regular season started. And sure enough, they weren't. So, but you can never say that about an Andy Reid team. So I don't know if it's so tough and physical in that regard, but it is demanding camp. There's some expectations here. When you're on the practice field, there's no fighting or goofing off. I mean, they're playing football, and that's the expectation. So, I think that's maybe the biggest key to an Andy Reid training camp.
Last question. Will there be who do you think could be a surprise cut or trade for the Chiefs before the start of the season?
Well, I don't think he's going to get cut or traded, but I just don't know what role Clyde Edwards-Helaire has on the Chiefs when everybody's healthy. And, certainly the injury to Isaiah Pacheco, he's practicing, but he's not full right now, and not sure when that's going to be, maybe a little while. So I just don't know that he's going to be ready for a full load in the regular season. So the Chiefs right now, I think, need all the backs they can get, but I just don't know what role Clyde Edwards-Helaire serves for the Chiefs other than, just a guy who can take some snaps for him in a game. Clearly Pacheco is a more productive player. Jerick McKinnon is better in the passing game, and the Chiefs have a rookie, an undrafted rookie by the name of Deneric Prince, who is really showing out well so far in training camp. So I just don't know that there's a real role for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I don't think he'll get cut or traded, but I just don't know what he's going to do if he's not.
Adam, thank you so much for the time, my friend. Safe travels up and down I-29 for the rest of this month, all right?
Absolutely, man. We'll talk to you next time.
That's Adam Teicher of ESPN.com. Does a fantastic job in covering the Chiefs. Long time. I grew up reading Adam Teicher, so that's good stuff. The Clyde Edwards-Helaire situation is unique. It's
very unique.
It really, really is. Thinks the deal's going to get done.
My deal's going to get done.
Thinks the deal's going to get done between the two.
They'll figure it out.
That is a good question, too. We asked him, Richie James, Sky Moore. You're on the Sky Moore side. I'm on the Richie James side. Maybe I phrased it wrong, but who has a bigger impact versus who has more yards can be different.
Yeah,
100%. I do agree with that. No question. I'm still going to side with, I'm going to go with Richie James.
That's fair.
You still going with Sky Moore?
Of course.
It's going to be fun to follow.
It's going to be interesting. See who's right.
I think if Toney is not playing a ton, I think that hurts Sky Moore more so than Richie James.
Think it hurts Sky Moore more? How?
Yeah.
How so?
Because I think Richie James, being the veteran guy, I think he's gonna. I think he can do a little bit more.
Okay. But without Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore gets more reps. In theory.
Now I'm interested. Are you still going to Toney the most receiving yards on the team? It's a wide receiver.
If he's healthy.
No. That's not what I said.
Well, I mean, you have to.
No,
you have to put that caveat.
We are going through at the end of the year who has the most receiving yards for the Chiefs as a receiver.
I'm still gonna say Kadarius Toney. Got to manifest that good health.
I'm with you on that one. I am. Coming up next, we'll wrap things up with the mic drop. Alrighty, Fulton, what do you got for your mic drop?
Cincinnati Reds have said that second baseman Jonathan India is reportedly available to be traded for. Royals, go make a phone call.
Why do the Royals need the Royals?
Royals don't have a solution at second base. Jonathan India would be a fantastic fit for Kauffman Stadium. He'd lose out on some homers. That man would hit so many doubles and triples with his approach.
I don't even know who Jonathan India is.
Second baseman for the Reds, very good. Was Rookie of the Year 2 years ago.
Oh, really?
Injuries have kind of affected a few of his come-ups, but yeah,
So
was
that's
Rookie
why
of the
they're
Year.
trading him.
No, they're trading him because they have too many infielders.
Oh, okay.
They're potentially trading him because like Ellie De La Cruz was delayed coming up because he and India were kind of sharing some spots. Like De La Cruz had to be moved around a little bit.
Congratulations. We will give you a Scott Barlow and a Edward Olivares.
I was thinking more we will give you a Brady Singer and position player of your choice because they want starting pitching.
Oh, yeah. All right. Coming up, we got 580 Sports Talk. We'll talk to you tomorrow at noon. We'll talk to you tomorrow here on Mic'd Up.